everyone. A very good evening. I hope that you all are doing good and you all are actively present in the class. Good evening, Heem, Shahid, Diksha, Divyam, Kanak, Apurva. Wish you all a very good evening, and all others who have not put it in the chat box. I wish you all a very good evening. Okay, and coming to the point, guys, have you all revisited the portion of the first chapter that we had completed on the first day of the class? Good evening, Chitra, Lakshit. Anyone? Okay, good, Kanak. Others? Have you visited? Good evening, Ishu. Good. Divyam, Chitra, very good. Lakshit, Sharanya. Good, Yashika. So those who have said, yes, I've visited, are you absolutely clear with what you studied? Even when you studied just a limited portion of the first chapter. Anybody who's carrying any doubts for that portion, quickly put up in the chat box. Yeah. Okay. Diksha, you don't worry. You would find it similar only for the first 1-2 chapters. Then F1 and F2 take a different route, because then we will go more into costing. But it is not at all a very difficult subject once you understand it. So conceptual clarity is needed for every subject that you study. Coming to the point here, let me just quickly recap what we covered in the first class, and then we will start and complete major portions of a first chapter and the second chapter. Fine. So everybody, eyes here on my screen, and please be attentive. If you have any doubts, you know what to do. Put it in the chat box, ask me. So I'll just share the screen. Okay, so let's just quickly revisit what we did for the first chapter. First chapter was accounting for management. So here we just try to understand the three terminologies. What is cost accounting? What is financial accounting? What is management accounting? And what is the correlation between them? Okay, so we understood precisely that financial accounting is covering the accounting requirements for the entire organization, and for that purposes we prepared balance sheet, P&L, and the other financial statements. Now that is generally for the external parties and internal parties as well, but focusing more on external party. As a management, we are more interested into knowing how our internal functionings are doing. So for that purposes, we have management accounting that is precisely focusing from the management point of view. So we are looking into cost, we are looking into planning, we are looking into control, we are looking into performance evaluation, all those areas. Costing is a part of it. For your MA, costing is a major portion of your syllabus. This picture is what we did in our first class. Anybody has got any queries, please put up in the chat box. So we discussed about the three levels: strategic, the tactical, and the operational, and their limited responsibilities with respect to planning. Yeah, so we had completed till here. Now I'm going to take up the next topic, which is data and information. Before I proceed, there's a small video. Actually, that video is of little lower levels, but I found it relevant for you to understand the difference. Okay, then I'll take up this topic. So everybody, please just attentively go through the videos, and don't worry, videos are generally for these initial topics because these are more of statistics and all. As we go into costings, then we will have very lesser number of videos, or maybe no videos. So I'll just play the video, and I want everybody to get in the concept of what is data and what is information.
What is the difference between data and information? Let's look at an example. Do you have any idea what this data might mean? Without any context, it is impossible to tell. These numbers simply don't make sense. Once context has been added, meaningless data turns into information. Now we can see that this is a medal table. The symbols and country names provide the context that was missing. And with one additional bit of context, we now have the full picture. This table shows the most successful 3 countries at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. So data can be described as letters, words, or numbers that have been collected for a purpose. But they are stored without context. This means they are meaningless until they have been organised and contextualised as information. Working with data and information is known as data handling. Good data handling activities for your learners involve them asking questions, collecting useful data, and presenting it in a way that makes the information accessible. Think about the data you come across and use in your day-to-day life. What data do you collect in the classroom or at home? What are the steps you follow to turn this data into information? Share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Is the audio very low in sound? According to me, it's pretty audible. Are you all facing the problem? You could not hear anything? Nandini is okay. Nandini, then please check your internet. It was audible for everyone. And don't worry, Nandini, I am going to be, as it is, sharing this video in the group. So don't be worried about it. This was a small video that I wanted to share. Okay, I got your point, guys. Nandini, is it okay? I would be sharing the link, don't worry. So if I say precisely, and we're doing 2 things here, what is data and what is information? Data is nothing but something in raw form. For example, I say that the target is 80 kgs to be manufactured. Now the production department will say, what do you mean 80 kgs to be manufactured? I mean, it's so incomplete information you're giving me. 80 kgs to be manufactured when? Today? Or is it a monthly target? Or is it a weekly target? What exactly is it? And suppose if I have 5 products, then this target is for which product? So if I just throw in some numbers and the figures, that becomes incomplete. But when we process this data, then this is called as information. So it is nothing but processed data. That now, if I say that, okay, production department, you have to manufacture 80 kgs of material of item X in a week, in a time of 7 days. Now, this is a complete data, or this is a complete information that they require for in order to carry on the production activities. Another example can be, you all go to the markets, right? You find people who are carrying some questionnaires and they want you to fulfill. They want you to fill in your details. Many a times, you go to the different malls and therein when you buy stuff, they tell you to fill in their registers. When I give them the data, this is the data that I'm giving them, right? Suppose I go to Shop at Lifestyle and I'm giving them the data of my contact details. This is a data for them. But when they use this data and prepare the report, that suppose in a day, 50 people came to the lifestyle store. Out of the 50 people who came, 20 people had done the shopping of more than 10,000. And these are their contact details. So now we can give them more promotion offers. Now this becomes a complete information. Are you all absolutely clear now? We're still clear with what is data and information. Anyone who's got any queries, please put up in the chat box. I will take up the text, don't worry. But let's first understand the basics. Anyone who's got slightest of queries also, do not hesitate, put up in the chat box. And yes, Chitra, Shash, you had asked me a query, Shash. I'll take it up once I complete data and information. Okay. Palak, I'll repeat it. Don't worry. I'll take up the example again. Okay. Now I'm going to the market. Okay. I'm going to the market and there is a new product which is getting launched. Okay. XYZ face wash. Don't worry, Apurva. I'm repeating it again for everybody who has missed out. Okay. Now quickly. So I went to the market and there's a new company which is launching its product XYZ face wash. Now it is conducting a survey because it wants to launch the product meeting some specific requirements, some kind of a customized face wash. So now there are people in the mall when I visit and they ask me to fill a questionnaire. So I filled a questionnaire regarding the cosmetic products that I use. This is data for the company. Why? Data means it's still raw. Raw form means now the question is that I fill and give it to the salesperson. If they keep just like that, they're not going to derive anything out of it because there are 10,000 people who have filled up that question and everybody's got different requirements. So if you just use the questionnaire like that, it's of no use. But when this data will become useful, when the people in the organization collect the questionnaire, make a report in the computer, and that tells that suppose they had covered a age group of 20 to 30, 30 to 50, 50 to 70, like that. Then what was the preferences of each of these age groups? What problems did they face? What were their expectations from a new face wash that was coming up? Now, if this report is presented to the management, now this becomes more meaningful. Because if I go to the director and say, look, handle these 10,000 questionnaires, directors will say, what is this? Who's going to read all of them? Please make a summarized form, and that becomes information for me. So now are you clear between the difference between data and information? That how information is more meaningful than data? Yes, Palak, Apurva? I'll take one example that Kanak has written. Kanak is saying, ma'am, like what you're teaching us is raw form, is data. If we keep hearing, and we don't grasp anything, we don't utilize it, it's of no use to us, it's not information. When we use this data and give good results in the exam, that is the information. Bingo, Kanak. Deep thought. So very insightful. Okay. So now let's quickly go into the chapter and you are going to answer a few questions now. So I'm just going to repeat the definition so that you are absolutely crystal clear, everybody in the class. And now when I ask questions, I want each and everyone to participate just like day before yesterday. Okay. What is data? Data is a raw material for data processing. Data relates to facts, events, transactions, and so forth. Facts, like I said, numbers and all. Events, the events can be like anniversaries, birthdays, launching of a new product and on. Transactions can be sales invoice, purchase invoice, questionnaires. These are all transactions. Okay, so data can be in anything. You don't need to learn the definition, just understand. Information is that data which has been processed in some way to make it meaningful to the person who receives it, like reports to the managing director. Information is anything that is communicated. So we don't communicate data. If you observe, we don't communicate data. What we communicate is information. Okay. Let's have one question now. Guys, everybody has to participate. There are two types of information now, external and internal. What is internal? That is information transferred between employees, management, and all within the organization. External is information given to or taken from external parties. Like somebody is unmuted. Please just Divya, be on mute and be attentive in the class, please. Okay. Okay, guys. So now external parties can be like the competitors, government, suppliers, taxation authorities, creditors, lenders, all those. So we are having this question from the point of view of external parties. Question 1. What external information may the managers of a business need? What do you think external information the managers of the business will need, okay, from competitors? Can you just think and write it in the chat box? Only one line. What do you think? What information would we require from a competitor? So think yourself and put a competitor in place and then tell me the answer. Only one point, not more than that. Put up in the chat box. I'll read out those questions. Only the first point answer. What information do you think we would be needing from a competitor or belonging to competitors? So let's read out few answers. Very good. Divyam, the best selling product of the competitor, perfect, which is the product which is in demand of competitor, right? Like for example, Apple, when I say it's the iPhone, right? So we know the best selling product of the competitor, what type of product they sell. Manager wants to know about their profits, how they are operating in the market. So yes, very true. We would like to look into their profits from the statements that are published. Their price, very good. At what price they're selling, future strategies regarding market price, and that's a different, very difficult to find out, Shash, because that's internal information. And externally, you would be able to get that information only from some insiders, or if that detail they have, their future plans are published in the newspaper only then. Okay, the financial statements, yes, we discussed. Sales reports, no, Khushbu, how can you get a sales report of a competitor? Sales reports are internal documents. You cannot get it from the competitor. Very good, Chitra. Any new upcoming launch? Yes, very good. The sales figures of the company, new products are launching. What's the major disadvantage of the other company? So, Preksha, I would like to put this point as not the major disadvantage, but I would like to put this point as what are the, what are the areas where the company is facing problems, and like it comes in newspapers and all. So is there any sector that the company is not able to deal with properly? So we can grab that sector. So marketing strategies, product qualities, feature innovative products. So in short, if I say, we would be more concerned about their sale prices, any innovations that they're bringing in, their new products, like upcoming products, their P&L statements, okay, the market share that none of you said, the market share of the competitor, whether it's increasing, decreasing, so we can catch an eye on it and grab the market. Like for example, in telecom in India, earlier BSNL was the leader, but now Jio is the leader. So they grabbed on the market share. Okay, but good, very good points. And I want inputs from everybody in the class. Let me remind you that. Customers, what do you think we would be needing information about the customers? Customers like us. Okay, the needs, perfect him. Needs and the preferences, what qualities they want in the product. Very good. Quality. Perfect, which is the most demanding product. Very good, Divyam. Quality of the product, preferences, qualities. Very good, Khushbu. Safety checks. That is, what is the safety requirements of the customer? If you know, in today's newspaper, it came that Maruti Suzuki called up, there's some 6,000 cars. Okay, why? Safety checks. So you can see the customer's requirement. Perfect. The price that they're expecting. Very good, Lakshit. Needs and wants. Habitual products, Shash. That's needs and wants only, no, Shash? The changes they want in the products. Yeah, so what is the requirement? Cost-effective products. Discounts. Very good, Kanak. Okay, discounts would relate to the price that they expect. So their needs. Okay, this is what we would say. Very good, Apurva. So I can just summarize, wonderfully put up by all of you, all the points. Summarizing, I would say qualities, their needs, their wants, their expectations about the price, safety, quality. These are all the core areas. Very good. Suppliers, quickly. What information do you think we would be needing from the suppliers or about the suppliers? Very good, Divyam. I really like the points that you're putting up. Absolutely correct points. We would like to have the information. Everybody put it. Come on. Divya, put up some points. Anushka, put up some points. Ishu, Joy, you're not just here to sit and listen to me. Come on, put up points. Mahim, Manas, Navya, Nandini, Preksha, Yashika, Palak, all of you. These are not very at all difficult questions, right? So you have to put in your points. Okay, so I'll take a few points now. Divyam says which suppliers give material in low price and give good quality in less cost. So we can say which is the supplier which is giving us lowest cost and highest quality. Yeah, the discounts that they're offering, so price of material discount. No, demand of the product will come for customers, Yashika, not suppliers. You can say that whether they're delivering on time or not, whether they're meeting our delivery standards or not. Perfect. Preksha, are they meeting the quality or not? Khushbu, I would like to put it, your point, you're saying that company can fulfill the debt. So I would like to put it, what is the financial position of the creditors? Do you think that they would be able to give us the credit facility or not? So how liquidity they have? Suchitra, yes, timelines. Yeah, good quality products. Company, Chahit says that the company wants to know about their pricing, the kind of products they're supplying, the rules, regulations. Very good. Rest delivery specification, like we discussed. I'm just checking any other point. Okay, not a problem. See, guys, even if I've called your names and you have been answering questions, doesn't matter. I mean, just miss out some of the names. So I call you, I keep calling your names. Okay, anyways, perfectly put up by everybody. So most we will be focusing on the financial position, the qualities, the deliveries, lowest cost, highest quality, all these points. Perfect. Very good. Government. What do you think we would get? The government is the most important category. Very good. So all of you are giving me unanimously 1 point. Taxes. Ma'am, we would like to know what are the tax rates put up by the government. Do they have any subsidy policies? Okay, so we would like to have, would we get any kind of benefits? What are the tax to be paid? What are the rules, regulations, any new policies that have come up? Perfect. Very, very good. Okay. Yes, so who gave me this? Yes, Manas, perfect. Other legislations, rules and regulations. What are the ISO norms? Like in India, we have ISO certifications required. So are there any changes in that? So like Preksha, perfect. Is there any additional security requirements, pricing? Sometimes government fixes threshold. There has to be a minimum pricing. There has to be maximum pricing. So we have to meet out that criteria as well. But very good. I think all of you have answered perfectly correct the question. Let's look at this next point. What should be the good qualities of a good information? So there are few qualities that a good information should carry. It should be relevant, of course. It should be complete. It should be accurate. It should be clear. It should be, it should inspire confidence. It should be appropriately communicated. It should be of the right volume. It should be timely. It should be cost effective. Okay, first let's understand everything. Huh? It should be relevant. Relevant means what? That whatever is the requirement, it is meeting that requirement. Now, for example, you are here to learn F2 and I start teaching you F3 and you'll be like, why we are sitting in this class? So relevance. Complete. Okay, I'll take up the same example. If I'm teaching F2, I have to ensure that I'm completing the syllabus. I'm not leaving any chapter behind. Completeness. Accuracy. Accuracy means whatever I'm teaching you is perfect to the point as expected in ACCA. Okay, clear? Whatever I'm teaching should land here and not fly above your head. It should inspire confidence, properly communicated. Can you all relate to these points now? It should be a manageable volume, means it should be covered in this book only. And if I start teaching you from 4 books and say you have to study 4 books, you'll be like, okay, I'm closing this MA now. So it should not be like that. Timely, Okay, and it should be cost effective. So the same things are required for an information. I think we can relate to it. Let's quickly discuss one question. A bank statement provides a company with information. What are the qualities of a bank statement which make it a good source of information? So let's have qualities discussed. First quality, suppose I take relevance. A bank statement would be relevant. Yeah, perfect. I'll come to your point, Apurva. Okay, bank statement should be relevant. Relevant means what? Now, suppose I want it for the financial year April to March 22. And I've got the bank statement April to March 21. Is it relevant to me? No. So relevance means the period for which I'm getting the statement for the same period. Okay. Second, accurate. Right? The figures, the bank statement that is showing the accurate balances. It's not that there is a bank balance in hand and it is showing me an overdraft balance. So those entries should be correct. Complete. Okay, I want it for 1 year. I should not be given bank statement for 6 months. So it should be complete. Yeah, so it should contain proper details of all transactions. So very good. Who gave me this point? Diksha. Okay, and it should be clear. Suppose I want bank statement in English language and I've been given bank statement in Chinese language. I don't understand. Also, the terms that are written there, the entries that are posted over there, they should be clear for me to make out which entries for what. It should inspire confidence. Inspire confidence means I should be confident of the data communicated so that I know the information that I'm preparing is perfect. Cost beneficial. Okay, cost beneficial means the cost to procure the data bank statement should not be more than the benefits that I'll be deriving from it by preparing the reconciliation statement. Naturally, it should be timely. Like I said, I'm doing it for my audit purposes. My audit is going to be over by 31st August and I get the statement on 31st October. What is the use of it? So timely means it should meet my requirements. Okay. Similarly, we can have so many other points. But I hope now you guys are absolutely clear with good information, data, all these points. Okay. What are the limitations of information for decision making? You know, I'll come to this question as well. What is the limitation of information? Sometimes we can get too much of information, right? Now, for example, we are starting with BPP. Now, sometimes you may be eager to study with Kaplan also. Sometimes you may be eager to study from someone else's note. Now, too much of information will make it chaos and you will not get anything. Okay, so information too much is also bad. Information too less is also. So we should have perfect information to meet our objectives. Okay. Now, information, whatever we are getting should be accurate. So I'm just taking all those points. It should be accurate, complete, and all. So there's a big risk that sometimes the information may not be complete, may not be accurate. For example, if I'm setting a probability, then how many students of my MA batch will score more than 80%? How many of you will score more than 80%? And when I am creating this probability, I am doing it for a future. So this information may be accurate, may be inaccurate. Okay, clear? So these are the various limitations of information. I hope we are clear with this. So let's quickly do activity 3. Guys, read the question and tell me the answer. I'll just increase it. You have to select 2 options. Huh? So tell me A, B, C, D. Read the question properly and then give me the answer. A, B, C, D. You're correct. No, Diksha. Everybody revert. Read it properly and then give me the answer. Very good. Divyam, Anushka, Preksha, correct. Yashika, correct. Lakshit, first one is correct, one is wrong, but then you'll get 0 in the exam. So it's overall wrong. Chahit, Khushbu, Diksha. Yes, correct. Now, Diksha, you're correct. Joy, correct. Sharanya, correct. Heem, no, one option is wrong. Just check which one is wrong. Nandini, one option is wrong. Navya, one option is wrong. Apurva, correct. Shash, correct. Chitra, check one of the option. Palak, correct. Come on, everybody, revert to me. Lakshit, one is wrong, one is correct. Okay, Heem, let's check. Shahid, which one you gave? Shahid, I think I missed out. Lakshit, now you're correct. Chitra, correct. Not a problem, guys. Don't need to say me sorry. And Nandini, mark your answers to me direct, okay? Do not write to everyone. Because people will copy you then. So please don't write it to everyone. Very good, Diksha, well explained. Shahid, now correct. Divya, correct. Very good, Kanak, correct. Reasons are correct. Navya, correct. Okay, guys. So I'll go with the majority and the answer is also correct. It is option number B and C that are correct. Some of you will be thinking, oh my God, how it is B and how it is C? So let's discuss it. First one, monthly sales figures for August received in November. But what are the question? What is the question? Which two of the following are good information? So good information means it has to be accurate, correct, clear, complete, timely, and all those points. First one, monthly sales figures for August received in November. I have to prepare a report in August and I'm getting the figures in November. Is it a good information? Not at all. It's not timely, right? The timeliness is not being followed. So A is wrong. Let's go to B. A summary provided at the front of a report to save senior managers from having to read the whole document. Definitely it's a good information. Because it is to the point, clear, concise, complete, and it is saving the time of the manager. So correct. C, a dashboard report summarizing all the key results for the last period for use at the next management meeting. Somewhat relating to B only. So it's a summary, it's correct, it's to the point. So yes, it's a good information. Let's go to D. A monthly report showing that chocolate mixing machine was adding 1% too much cocoa in the last period. A monthly report is showing that chocolate mixing machine was adding 1% too much cocoa in the last period. Do you think adding 1% too much cocoa, 1% is first of all adding too much? 1% is not too much. And this is not something that you would report to the management, right? You are just going to report the impact. Okay, that because of adding this 1% too much cocoa, have you lost on any sales, any demands? So this is what is going to be presented. This information is not relevant to our reporting. So therefore, D is not relevant. So what is the correct answer? B and C. Are you now absolutely clear, Heem? Are you clear, dear? And all of you, those who reverted to me for A or D. Okay, Nandini, you are clear, right? All those. Okay, great. I want you all to be crystal clear. Number one rule of the class. Okay, so we are done with this chapter. Any queries with anyone? You can just do activity 4 at home as your homework. First homework for today. Okay, now Shash had asked me, ma'am, is cost management, cost accounting then a part of your management accounting? Yes. Management accounting is a broader picture, cost accounting is a part of it. Fine. Anybody with any queries, quickly put up in the chat box. So till chapter 5, except for chapter 3, generally it is more like a statistics. Correct, Shahid. Now you got the absolute sequence correct. Financial accounting is a bigger picture. So, but I will not say that management accounting is a part of financial accounting. See, financial accounting is only looking into balance sheet, P&L, financial statements. Well, okay, management accounting is going into deeper things, whether my costing has been done correctly or not, whether the planning was done correctly or not, whether the performance evaluation is correct or not. So we are going into more deeper things. So broadly, I can say financial accounting is a more broader picture. Management accounting is a more narrower picture because it's only concerned with internal things. But management accounting includes cost accounting as a part of it. Got it? Shahid, are you clear? Great. Now, guys, the second chapter is also very interesting. It is somewhat like statistics. So the first topic, the chapter is data and presenting information. So again, it's revolving around data and information. Is this chapter important? Highly important. This chapter is so scoring that we always get questions worth 2 to 8 marks from this chapter. Sometimes 2 marks, sometimes up to 8 marks, 6 marks as well. It's very small questions, but they're very relevant. So just attentively go through this chapter. No, Apurva, how can we say financial accounting is data and management accounting is information? Isn't financial accounting processed form of data? You're preparing balance sheet P&L. Is it not meaningful information that people can have their opinions on? So management accounting report is also, see, anything, data is not related to management accounting, financial or cost accounting. Data is anything which is raw is data, anything which is processed is information. So whether you prepare reports under management accounting, FA or cost accounting, reports once it is prepared, which is meaningful, will be information. Am I clear? Apurva? Palak, yes. So we're done with the first chapter, guys. And we'll just start with the second chapter. After this little bit time, I'll give you a break of 5 minutes. Okay. So till that time, concentrate here. Okay, guys. So the second chapter, again, it's a continuity of data and information. Here we are trying to understand what are different types of data. For that, let's just have a look at the small video to understand that. It's not covering all the type of data. Okay, it's not covering all type of data, but still major portions of data, major types of data are covered here. So it's a 2-minute video. Please just attend.
The data I collect can be one of two things. It could be categories or it could be numbers. Categorical data or qualitative data is data where it might be red, green, blue or Ford, Holden, Toyota, categories. Numerical data or quantitative data is where there's a number involved. There were 17 cars. There were 5 people. The height was 6.7 metres. The length was numbers. We can divide each of these kinds of data another step. Let's start with categorical data. Nominal data is data where the categories are just named. Nominal means names. Red, green, blue. Apples, oranges, bananas, kiwi fruit. Ordinal is where there's categories but there's some kind of order. Big, medium, small. Best, preferred, acceptable, maybe, no way. Although they're categories, there's an implied order to them. Both of these kinds of data are in categories. Nominal is when they're just named. Ordinal is when there's some kind of implied order. Numerical data we also break up into 2 kinds. Discrete data is where only particular values are allowed, usually only whole numbers, like how many cars or number of children. Continuous data is where any value in range is allowed. Mass of the cars, children's heights, any numeric value is possible, so that's continuous. Value is possible, so that's continuous. children's height is where any value, continuous data, is where any value, continuous data, how many cars, or usually only whole numbers, like how many cars or number of children. Continuous data is where any value in range is allowed. Mass of the cars, children's heights, any numeric value is possible, so that's continuous. There are sometimes tricky cases. Take shoe sizes, for example. Although I can have 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, and so on, although I can have halves, I can't have other fractions. I can't talk about a shoe size of 5.1473. So only particular values are allowed. That's discrete. But if I measure the actual length of the shoe, that's going to be continuous, because it's going to be a precise number of millimeters or whatever. Even two shoes of the same size will have different lengths.
Did you understand something or not? Let's discuss here. Okay, guys, let's quickly understand the different types of data. Primary data. Primary data can be, for example, I am for ACCA, for example, students all over the world, they're giving exams for ACCA. So they collect the results of only ACCA students. And then they prepare a report that how much percentage of the students cleared MA in June, in August, July, in August, in September, in October, like that. They prepare a monthly report. So primary data is they're collecting the data for a specific purpose. What is the purpose? Preparing the percentages. I hope you're with me. So we are collecting primary data for a specific purpose. Let's go to second one. Okay, secondary data. For example, ACCA results. Secondary data will be, you're not collecting the data for a specific purpose, but that can be used by a lot of people around the globe. For example, government has put up a data that, in 2022, around the finance people who started to work, 20% or 30% of the entire finance jobs were given to ACCA students, ACCA affiliates of the entire jobs in the finance sector were given to ACCA affiliates or maybe CA affiliates, like that. Now, ACCA is not collecting that data themselves. They're not collecting any data themselves. But now they're using the data which was given by government, and they are telling it to their students that, look, in 2022, around 30% of overall private sector jobs went to ACCA. So did they collect the data themselves? No. Are they using someone else's data? Yes. Can anyone use that data? Yes. If that is so, it is called as secondary data. Okay, I'll repeat the definition again. Don't worry. Okay, so I'll take up one more example. So secondary data is a data already collected by someone else. Let me give one more data. Now, suppose you have to prepare a report on the economic performance of the country. Okay, how's the economic performance of the country? You take the unemployment index and the GDP ratio, which is already prepared by the government. No, it really does happen. Okay. No, okay. So suppose just let's take this example. Government always every year they publish the GDP data, that what is the GDP of the government, GDP earned by country. They always publish the data relating to the unemployment index, poverty indexes, and all that. Now, when I have been given a task to do a research in this field of how is the economic performance of my country, I am not collecting any data myself. What I'm doing is I'm just collecting the data which is already created, already collected by government, okay, for various purposes like unemployment, like poverty, like GDP. Now I'm using that data in my report. Is it the data collected by me first? No. So if I'm using someone else's data, it's called secondary data. But suppose now I go in the market and I do a survey of around 100 people and I am preparing the questionnaire, I am giving it to them, then I'm collecting data and then I'm using it for my project, that's primary data. Do you find people sending you messages that please I'm doing this research, so please fill up this Google form? What is this? Primary data. Because the data they are collecting themselves. But if I'm using the data which is already created by somebody else, that's a secondary data. Now, is this absolutely clear? Palak, everybody, are you now clear with what is primary data, what is secondary data? Divyam is giving me an example. Now, let's suppose he is writing an answer. Okay, if he is writing an answer, that's a primary data. If Kanak uses that answer in the exam, that's a secondary data. Very well explained. But don't worry, it won't be possible. Yeah. So remember it. Don't remember it like this, please. Okay, guys, let's go to the third one. Third one is okay, third one is numerical data. That's by the name. Numerical means numbers. A data which is expressed in numbers is a numerical data. Now we have two kinds of data that we just saw in the video as well. One of the numerical data, one type is called as discrete data. And one is called as continuous data. What is discrete data? Like for example, in a questionnaire, it asks you how many siblings you have. Of course, it has to be in whole number only. No? You will say, I have 2 siblings, 3 siblings, 4 siblings, and so on. I mean, you will never say I have a 4.5 sibling. You will never say that, I may have a sibling 4.15, 4.05, 4.25. No. You will say I'll have 1 sibling, 2 siblings, 0 siblings, and all that. So when you're putting in exact numbers, that's called as discrete data. If you're giving a continuous number, for example, they ask you, what is your height? Now, someone will have 5 feet, someone will have 5.1, someone will have 5.15, someone will have 5.105, 5.22, 5.25, like that. So now this is a data which can have variations in a lot of numbers. It's not that we'll have a fixed whole numbers here. That's called as a continuous data. So data which goes in various ranges, that's a continuous data. For example, salary of a person. Okay, not everybody will have like a 5 lakhs per annum, 20 lakhs per annum, 25 lakhs per annum. Somebody will have 25 lakhs, 60,000 also. So this is a continuous data. So continuous data generally can be presented in range, right? That's more comfortable to present in a range. For example, we prepare a data and we say, how many of you have a height between 5 feet to 5'2"? So like that, we can prepare a range for this continuous data. I hope I'm clear with the continuous data and discrete data. Anybody who's got any doubts, put up in the chat box. Discrete is just to the point. I mean, absolute perfect data. Data which is not going to be varying so much. It is the definite whole number or maybe half number, but it is a perfect number. It is not going into various decimal places or various ranges. Okay, now let's go to the next one. So we have done numerical data, which is of 2 types, discrete and continuous. Now let's go to categorical data. Categorical data can be, yeah, Palak, salary of a person. Yes, Preksha Palak, this is a continuous data, na salary of a person. See, because salary of a person, I'll not say salary, I'll say suppose cash in hand of a person. Cash in hand of a person can vary a lot, right? Because one person can have a cash in hand of 25,000. One may have 25,600. Depends upon the TDS and the investments that he has done. So therefore, it goes into, it is not a perfect figure that you're getting. So it is a continuous data. Okay, the data that can be expressed in different ranges. So this data can be like any value. It's not needed that, it has to be specific. Like for example, number of children, that generally is specific. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kind of. But a salary can be like any value. So therefore, it is a continuous data. It is not needed to be restricted to a particular number. Yes, height, Preksha, perfect. Height can also be any value. Weight can also be any value. Somebody will have a weight of 50 kg, some may have 50.1, 50.2. So like that, it's a continuous thing. We will not restrict it. Okay, that maximum weight anybody can have is only 60 kgs. So when there is no restriction on that number, it's a continuous number. Correct, Shash. Months in the year is a discrete data. Perfect. Yeah, so profit of a business. Now, Apurva, profits of a business can also be continuous data. Na? Can you limit profits of a data in a business? Different businesses will have different profit levels. So it's a continuous data. It's not discrete. Discrete is months in the year, where it is only limited to 12. Okay, guys, let's stop our point here. Stars in the sky and the planets in the solar system and all. Let's come down to here. Okay, now let's go to categorical data. What is a categorical data? Data can be, which can be divided into different categories, like ages. We can have different age categories. We collect data in different age categories. You can see 0 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, like that. So we can make categories and then collect data. So the different categories that can be made, like senior citizen category, men, women category, people under 65 years, people more than 65 years. So like this, we can make different groups. So if we can divide the data into different groups, that's called as a categorical data. Like we are collecting a data pan-India level, so we can collect different categories like North Zone, East Zone, West Zone, South Zone. So like this, if you can divide the data into different categories, that's a categorical data. So categorical data is a data. So basically, it's generally not a numerical data. It's more of a descriptive data. We have just seen in a video also. Descriptive data means it has got some description due to which we can divide it into different categories. Now, categorical data is again into two types that we studied. One is nominal data and other is ordinal data. Yes, perfect, Diksha. That's a categorical data. But the numbers that you're putting is a continuous data. Okay, Chitra. Now, if the ACCA wants to bifurcate the marks, how it is going to create category for the marks? By categorizing the different subjects, tax, MA, FA, BT, and all that. So what is these subjects? These are not numbers, right? These are descriptions. So that's a categorical data. Am I clear? Now for each category, they will have either discrete data or a continuous data. Marks would be continuous data. Am I clear? Sorry, marks would be discrete data. My bad. Because your data would be limited. Either you will have 52 or 52.5. You will not have 52.5675 like that. Your data cannot go in different ranges. So it's a discrete data. Am I clear now, Chitra? Oh, sorry, Diksha. So subject categories is a descriptive data. And then we go into discrete. Yeah. Diksha, I hope you're clear. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Categorical data. We have two kinds, nominal and ordinal. What is a nominal data? Nominal data is basically nominal data can be like the students in this class, for example. Okay, now you all are, suppose if I just write all the students' name on a piece of paper. So here I've written the details of everybody. Okay, so nominal data is basically when you collected the names of different subjects, different names, different labels, but you've not given them an order. I've just written the names of the students, that what are the who all are enrolled for MA, for example. Okay, now I have just prepared a list of the students enrolled for MA. There is no order. That's a nominal data. What is ordinal data? When I now write the names of the students in an order. Order can be like, there can be various bases I can use as an order. Alphabetical order. I can use the order as to when they are enrolled, basis on the date of enrollment, basis on their alphabets, basis on, suppose the areas they belong to, north zone, east zone, west zone, south zone, like that. I can, I can just group them. So when I group them, there are categories that I'm making. Okay, or I'm just setting an order. So, or generally, how do you have order in the class when you go in your college, in your school? You have alphabets, you have roll numbers. So roll numbers is what? Ordinal data. When you're giving an order to the data which is given. I hope I'm clear. So nominal data is, for example, name of students in the class. And when I give them roll number, that becomes ordinal data. Fine. So nominal data is names of students in a class. And ordinal data is roll numbers. Yeah. So nominal basically means, I'll not use the word randomly, Chitra. I'm just saying nominal data is you have all the details of a person or a labels at one place, and when you order them, then it becomes ordinal data. Now, for example, VGLT says that look, we are offering classes for ACCA, for CA, for CPA, for CMA, for EIE, and so many more. That's ordinal data. But when they give you sequence that okay, first class that we offer is ACCA, second class that we offer is EA, the third class that I offer is CIA, like that. So then it becomes ordinal data. I hope I'm clear. Remember it, roll number was. That is, if you have roll numbers, ordinal. If you don't have roll numbers, nominal. Okay, till this point, any queries? Primary data, secondary data, numerical data, discrete data, continuous data, categorical data, nominal data, ordinal data. Any queries? Please put them in the chat box. You tell me. Shash has asked me a question, guys. Revert to me. Data about sales per month. Sales per month. Is it categorical or numerical? I'll come to you, Chahit. Tell me this question's answer. We are writing sales per month. April, May, June, July, August. And I'm giving numbers to it. First, tell me when I'm making the sales grouped into April, May, June, July, August. Is this numerical data or categorical data? Perfect, Navya, Chahit, all of you. So I'll say sales per month is both categorical and numerical. How? Categorical because I'm giving different categories, April, May, June, July. Now the numbers when I'm writing against these categories is a numerical data. Correct? Right, Diksha? Right, Chahit, Shash, Palak, Kanak, Divyam, all of you. So it's got both. Huh? First, we will give categories and then we will write numbers. We don't just say one data. There's a combination of data that goes into. Okay. Now, why marks in ACCA is a discrete data? Because, tell me, Chahit, you asked me this. You asked me this question. Yeah, Chahit, I have a question to you. why marks in ACC is a discrete data? Can you tell me, is there any other marks you will get except for the whole number and half? Would you get any other marks apart from whole number and half? Can your teacher give you marks like 50.16, 50.20, 50.30? Your teacher will only give you marks 50 or 50 and a half. So would I be able to know what kind of marks I will get? Either I will get full or I'll get half. So it's discrete data where the range is already known to you. Got it? So discrete data is a data where the range is already known to you. Continuous is where I don't know the range. It can go in any figures. Okay, so I hope now everybody is absolutely clear. No need to learn the definitions. Now you know what's primary, what's secondary, what's nominal, what's ordinal, what's continuous, what's discrete, what's numerical, what's categorical. Don't learn them, okay? Please just retain in the heads what I've discussed. Okay, next is very, very easy. Sample data and population data. Now, what is a sample data? Sample data is now I've got 1,000 people living in my society. Okay, and I want to know how many of them they are, how many of them are using the clubhouse of the society. Now, instead of going to those 1,000 people, I just take, I just take the opinion of 10 people from each tower. And suppose if I have 10 towers in my society, 10 into 10, I'm just taking opinion of 100 people. Now, out of these 100 people, 60% people say that they go to the clubhouse every day. Okay, so now I'm making a general opinion based on this sample. So I will say that roughly around 60% of the entire population of the society, they are going to clubhouse. And how I've arrived at this data? When I took out a sample basis. In audits, when you go to an organization, it's not possible for you to audit each and every invoice of the company. A company like Nestle, Tata Motors, Reliance Industries, Walmart, do you think it is possible for you to check every invoice? Not at all. So instead, what we do, we create samples. And suppose out of sales invoice for the year, we check just 100 invoices. In 100 invoices, if I don't find any errors, I give an opinion that generally it look like that the sales are free from errors. How I arrived at this opinion? Based on the sample data that I collected. Right? We all use samples. Sometimes in our olden times, our means, even when I was young, I'm not that too old. Okay, so when I was young, and many of you may remember with the newspapers, your parents may be telling you that with the newspapers, with the magazines, sometimes they used to get some sample shampoo sachets, face wash sachets, and so much. Okay, this was to promote a product. So if you like the sample, you would generally find that, okay, this product is generally very good. So you will go and buy the product. The sample is an opinion that you frame for the entire population. What is a population data? When you're checking each and everybody in that population, you're not doing a sample check. So for my example, I want to know how many of them are using the clubhouse. So instead of just approaching 100 people, I approach each one of the 1,000 people, and then I give my opinion. Which is more accurate? Population data. Yes, it's more accurate because you're covering everything in the survey. You're covering everything. They're covering everything. But is it cost effective? Not necessarily. Sometimes it's not necessary that your sample will not reflect the entire population opinion. Plus, the time and the effort and the cost that will go for collecting the data for entire population, that's not worth it many a times. So you have to do a cost benefit analysis to find it. Okay, so we generally, instead what we do, we generally try to create a bit larger sample so that we are sure of our opinion, because it is not possible to do 100% population check all the time, because cost, money, time, efforts all go into it. Are we absolutely crystal clear? So like one more sample data, I can give you an example. You go and do shopping with big baskets, for example, and all. So when you buy your, products, sometimes you're giving free sample of some new products that are launched. So these are what? Sampling. Am I absolutely crystal clear, guys, with all the types of data? Now, primary, secondary, numerical, discrete, continuous, categorical, nominal, ordinal, sample, population. Crystal clear? Nobody's ratifying anything, right? I hope that. Everybody's got it in their heads. Yeah? Good. I don't want anybody to have the ratification, please. So anyone with the slightest of queries also put up in the chat box, but no need to learn things. Huh? You are not in your school, BCom and all. We are preparing ourselves for professional exams that require conceptual clarity, not ratification, and not at least in my class. Okay, so we have done with this data. Just quickly revert, understanding it. So numerical data is expressed in numbers. Categorical is descriptive. Nominal data is when you're just collecting the names and the labels, and when you're giving them an order, it becomes ordinal data. Discrete is the numbers which are countable, the range you can decide, you will know in advance. You don't need to wait for the final results. I mean, you will know what kind of range you will get. Continuous data can be any value. You don't know what it can be. Okay. Yeah. So again, this question you can discuss. What are the key advantages and disadvantages of using primary data? This you can do yourself. Now let's go to this understanding of data, which is very, very, very important. When I'm using so many varies, it's very frequently asked in section A MCQs. What is it? What are the different sources of data? Okay, Shash is asking me, and everybody, you have to revert. Tell me, is height discrete data or continuous data? Shash, you also think and tell me. You are going to stand and measure your height. I am going to measure my height. Preksha is going to measure the height. Are we going to have a particular range of height only? Or can it be varying for everybody? Tell me, Shash. All of you correct. And the same I have question to Sharanya as well. Sharanya, you are saying it is discrete. So either your height will be 5 feet, for example, I'm saying, or it will be 5.1, but it can never be in between. You are saying that, right? Yes, all of you correct. Sharanya's question is for you. You are going to measure a height with your inch tape. So according to if it is discrete means either it will be 5 or 5.1 or in just a fixed number range only. You cannot have a height of maybe 5 feet and then, 24 inches or 24.5 inches. You cannot have that height. God has made us either you only 5'1" or 5'2". You cannot have a height in between. Is it so? Or do you think that even two people who have 5 feet 1 inch, suppose I am 5'1" and Palak is 5'1", for example, and if we are measuring ourselves with the inch tape, do you think we will have any difference in millimeters also? Can we have differences in millimeters? Anybody? So if we can have differences in millimeters, yes, Divya. Good. So if Divyam, if we can have differences in millimeters, it's a continuous data because then I cannot know the range. But now suppose it's ACCA marks. If Preksha has got 80 and Divyam has got 80, you'll say, wow, ma'am, you've given us 80. Let's be positive. No, I wanted to get 80, 90s only, not below that. Okay. So Apurva says, no, you are getting 99.99. Okay. But ACCA will give you 99. Okay. So suppose Apurva has got 99 and Kanak has got 99. Okay. Now in that case, it will be only 99. It's not that when Kanak will see the result in detail, it will show 99.165. It will be 99 only. Same for Apurva. Got it? So it is discrete. wherein there is no range difference if two people are comparing it. Now, I hope it's absolutely clear, Shash. This understanding with everybody. When is the data continuous? When it is discrete? So all of you come back from 80 and 99 for scoring that you have to study here. Okay, so let's continue our studies. Excuse me. Guys, do you want a break? I don't think it's been a very light class today. Can we continue? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's continue. So now the next topic is how you can get the data. Guys, how can get the data? Have you ever been to Big Bazaar and all these stores? I mean, anywhere. Do you go for shopping, guys? Or you're just studying? Okay. Today Apurva is out of stock for Kit Kat. Fine. Guys, revert quickly. Do you ever go for shopping? Anybody? Because I go for shopping. Okay. So Divyam, Preksha, Diksha, you all go for shopping. Good. When you go for the shopping, how do they take the, how do they, when you're going for billing, have you seen them doing the billing? The salespersons and all. How do they do the billing? Do they enter it manually or do they use some barcode readers? Have you seen them? Generally, they use barcode readers, right? Nowadays. Yes, perfect. Do you think it's a way of entering the data into the computer system? So this is called as machine or sensor data, right? Have you ever earlier when ACC exams were paper-based, so they used to have the OMR sheet and you had to fill in that OMR sheet. And how it was read in the computer, it was read by the computer by just, scanning that OMR sheet with the barcodes. So this is a way by which machine uses the technology to input data into the computer system. So this is one of the sources of getting the data. So one source of data is machine or sensor. That is now, like you have the, the barcode readers. Okay. Nowadays we have those, the watches. All of you are nowadays wearing the fitness trackers and the smart watches. Nobody wears that Titan watches anymore. Yeah. So we have those, yes, perfect, Apurva, scanners, right? The smart watches, smartphones. You have those barcode readers in the smartphones. What is it? It's a machine technology to get the data, right? The temperature sensors. You have those metal sensors, right? You have parking sensors, GPS detectors, location trackers, touch sensors, barcode readers. These are what? These are all your machine or sensor data. That is, you're capturing the data, we are getting the data, but with the help of machine technologies. Fine. Direct data capture is called as. We'll come to that point also, direct data capture and data capture. Second is, but please remember that these are direct data capture, wherein the data is captured directly by the machine. There is no interference of anybody in between. Second type of source of data is transactional. Transactional means what? Now we are getting data from other records. We're getting data from other records like the record of sales invoices, purchase invoices, returns, P&L statements, balance sheets. So now we are getting data from other records of the organization. Okay, these are all valid records. So we are getting data records from them, like sales reports that have been prepared. Okay, so these are all coming from the records of an organization, the transactions of an organization. Third is human or social. Human or social means, not today, right now, suppose we are reading, studying in the class, and I know parallelly some of you are just checking out what is the FIFA World Cup status, what is, where is your friend nowadays, which you are not able to meet for the past few days. Social media queries, okay, Instagrams, Facebook, and all that. What are these? These are what? These are human or social related data. So you are getting data now from social media post, right? From your customer queries. Customer queries are like you make a call to the customer, the support center, and you have a query that you put up. So now that query is resolved by the team. So because you raised a query as a customer, it's getting resolved. So it's a human involvement, right? Then we have written letters. Nowadays we have emails. So emails are all what? They are the human or social data. Then we have focus group feedback. Focus group feedback means what? That have you ever seen government also tells that we have formed a committee that is going to look into a particular aspect, and then they are going to give their report. So that committee is what? Focus group. There's a group of people that have come together in order to discuss about a particular topic, and their feedback is focus group feedback. So that's a human way of getting the data. So what we just discussed is the different ways by which we can get the data. We can get the data through machine, direct data capture. We can get it through the internal transactions of the organization, or we can involve human and social. But out of all these data, generally human and social data is the least reliable data, because there are chances that there can be errors here. Right? So when we are using human or social data, we should be double sure of the data that we are using. We have to ensure that it is correct and it is accurate, only then we should use it. Fine. Okay, just little bit of data. Now, what are the different sources of information? Now, if you want to get some internal sources of information, internally, we can get the data from financial, your accounting records, your payrolls, published accounts, the historical data of the company, the timesheets, and the other internal data. External, we can get information from the government, like I said, the employment health indexes, and also these are the different statistics which are published by the government for various things. From banks, we can get the data like bank statements, we can get the data on the rates which are offered by the bank, the government spending and all, which are published. Trade journals, like suppose for ACCA, you have your journals published. So you can get the data from their journals, and what journals data will tell you about the different competitors, about the work opportunities, about the average passing rates. So about that particular industry, you can get the data. Financial newspapers, like I know most of you must be studying Economic Times. If you're not reading Economic Times, please read. As for a good professional, you should be aware of what is going on in the financial market. So, okay. So now when we're reading these financial newspapers, they give us a lot of information about a financial market. So, largely from the government perspective, largely from the different industries perspective as well. Okay. Now, the best way to get data is, who will get the newspaper? Go and get it from the internet. Yes. Now this, you can read what is about internet. Again, this portion, you can just read about the economic environment. This is just economics, so I'm not discussing it. I'll come to a more important portion, and that's very interesting. The different sampling methods. I told you, right? We create samples to analyze the data. But are there different types of samples that can be used? Yes. So what are different types of samples? Let's quickly watch 2-3 videos, and then I'll come to it. Okay. So you'll say, wow, that's good, no? We have to watch videos and not hear me out. This chapter is statistics, so that's completely statistic that we'll be studying. So let's just watch some 2-3 videos for this chapter. What we are going to watch in these videos about the different types of sample: random sampling, stratified sampling. Okay. Then we would be just reading about systematic sampling, non-random sampling. So there are different types of sampling. Don't be confused. Just watch these videos. And I would be sharing them in the group. Don't worry.
Your research design should clearly define who your research research will focus on and how you go about choosing your participants.
Okay, so let's just watch these 2 videos, and everybody, I hope it is audible properly. Just revert and tell me it's audible properly. No? Palak, just increase your laptop sound or mobile sound, whatever you're using the mode, because everybody else is saying it's audible. So just increase that volume, please. I will also just check that volume. Full for me. I've not played it.
Recall that a population.
Can you all hear it? It's audible now? Then I'll just play it again. Fine. Okay, now I'm going to play 2 videos. So please just attentively, please watch it. And then only I will explain you. This topic is very important. For 2 marks questions, they are like free marks. So let's not lose them.
Recall that a population refers to the group of things that we want information about, and a sample refers to part of the population that we take out to examine and draw conclusions from. In this video, we will be looking at the different methods of obtaining a sample. But first, let's look at the types of biased samples. Biased samples occur when one or more parts of the population are favored over others. The 2 types of biased samples include the convenience sample and the voluntary response sample. A convenience sample only includes people who are easy to reach. If this is our population and a researcher comes with a sample size of 6, I would select 6 papers and come up to obtaining a sample.
Watch it from here only. Okay. I can see some of you are leaving the class. I hope that you're not making a point that it's the end. After the videos, I'm going to explain this. Okay. So do not consider it as unimportant. Okay. Please attentively watch it.
But first, let's look at the types of biased samples. Biased samples occur when one or more parts of the population are favored over others. The 2 types of biased samples include the convenience sample and the voluntary response sample. A convenience sample only includes people who are easy to reach. If this is our population and a researcher comes along to interview people, then he would only talk to the people that are closer to him to be part of the sample. This is a biased sampling method because not everyone in the population has an equal chance of being part of the sample. Only people that are of convenience to the researcher will be interviewed. Now, a voluntary response sample consists of people that have chosen to include themselves in the sample. So the researcher lets people come to him. This is a biased sampling method because people with a strong interest for the survey topic are the ones who are most likely to respond, whereas the people who don't feel as strongly about the topic may not even care to respond. Remember that a good sample is one that is representative of the entire population, and it gives.
I do hope that you've understood what is a biased sample, where you're just focusing on a particular group of people. So the other people who are not related to it, they feel left out. It is not a good sampling technique, right? A sampling technique is good if it is covering the entire population, not just few people in that sample or few data in the sample. Okay.
Gives each thing an equal chance of being chosen. When you have these conditions, you have what is known as an unbiased sample. We will be looking at 3 different types: stratified random sampling, multi-stage sampling, and simple random sampling. The most basic type of sampling is the simple random sample, also known as an SRS. Since an SRS is unbiased, each individual has an equal chance of being chosen to be surveyed. In other words, to be part of the sample. You can think of an SRS as putting names into a hat and selecting N of them. So if I wanted a sample size of 6, I would select 6 papers and come up to the randomly chosen people to interview them. For a stratified random sample, we take the population and we divide it into something called a strata. Strata refers to the groups of similar people. Within each stratum, we take an SRS and combine the SRSs to get the full sample. For example, we could take an SRS of 2 people from each group so that we get the total of 6 people. A stratified random sample is good for making sure that whoever is administering the sample gets in contact with each kind of group. The last type of sampling is called multi-stage sampling. For multi-stage sampling, we use a combination of 2 or more simple random samples. As the name suggests, multi-stage sampling means you have to go through different stages to find where your sample comes from. For example, if we have 3 groups, stage 1 could be selecting which group will be picked using an SRS. Let's say that I picked out group 1. Then that means I would only look at group 1. Then for stage 2, I would do another SRS to get the 6 random people. We go through different stages of simple random samples to get the actual sample, and this is why this is called multi-stage sampling. I'd like to point out that instead of putting names in a hat, there's another way to pick things randomly.
Multi-stage sampling, I think one of the best examples can be the interviews that we do for a company. We have different stages. Suppose there are 5 rounds of the interview. So there are multi-stages at which people are selected. Right? So one of the best examples can be your multi-stage sampling and be the interview rounds.
We can use something called the random digits table. The random digits table consists of a long string of random numbers, and it can help us do an SRS. To use it, I would first have to label each member of the population with a number. We have 30 people in this population, so I will label each person from 1 to 30. Notice how I have written 0, 1 instead of just 1. Doing this helps us use the random digits table. Since each label has 2 digits, we will read the string of numbers 2 digits at a time. So let's say I want a sample size of 4. We will use the random digits table to randomly select 4 people. The first number on the table is 19, so person 19 will be part of the sample. The second number is 22, so person 22 will be part of the sample. The third number is 39, but our sample size doesn't go up to 39, so we will ignore it. We will also ignore 50 and 34, but we will keep number 5. We will also ignore 75, 62, and 87, but we will keep number 13. As a result, these are the people we would survey.
Guys, I hope by this video, we could understand what is a stratified sample, what is a biased sample, what is a simple random sample, what is a multi-stage sample, and what is a sample with the help of these sampling tables, the random sampling tables, wherein we don't have any criteria, we're just taking the random numbers and selecting them, right? What happens in sometimes, when you go for a lucky draw, I think lucky draw is more like a non-biased sample. You're just taking out random numbers. So that's a simple random sampling, right? Now let's go watch the next video, and then I will just summarize all of these and we will be completing the chapter. So I won't be giving you any breaks because we are, as it is, going to be finishing the class. In every class, I give you a 5 minutes break. Today it was a lighter session, so I did not give. Next class, I will give you 2 minutes extra. Okay, please just watch this video as well.
Sampling techniques. In statistics, population refers to the entire set of observations that are of interest to an analyst. The term is often used to contrast with a sample, which is a subset of the population. Sampling aims to collect a representative subset of the population. Sampling is used when observing all population data could. 1. Request excessive economic resources. 2. Request more time than the one made available. 3. destroy the entire population, for example, in the case of destructive tests. To draw valid conclusions from your results, you have to carefully decide how you will select a sample that is representative of the group as a whole. There are two types of sampling methods. A. Probability sampling involves random selection, allowing you to make strong statistical
Please just listen to it very carefully. Probability sampling. It is a new sampling method that we did not see in the earlier video.
inferences about the whole group. B. Non-probability sampling involves non-random selection based on convenience or other criteria, allowing you to easily collect data. Each of these sampling methods has 4 subsections. Probability sampling methods. 1. Simple random sampling. 2. Systematic sampling. 3. Stratified sampling. 4. Cluster sampling. Non-probability sampling methods. 1. Convenience sampling. 2. Quota sampling. 3. Purposive sampling. 4. Snowball or referral sampling.
In your syllabus, you don't have convenience, purposive, and snowball. You just have quota from here. And here you have all the 4. So we will just, no need to cover convenience, purposive, and snowball sampling when you're going through the videos at home. Okay, we'll be just covering these 5 sampling methods.
Let's see the characteristics of each sampling technique. Probability sampling methods. Probability sampling means that every member of the population has a chance of being selected. It is mainly used in quantitative research. If you want to produce results that are representative of the whole population, probability sampling techniques are the most valid choice. 1. Simple random sampling. When you're using a simple random sample, every member of the population has an equal chance of being selected. Your sampling frame should include the whole population. To conduct this type of sampling, you can oftentimes use tools like random number generators or other techniques. For example, you want to select a simple random sample of 30 employees of company X. You assign a number to every employee in the company database from 1 to 100 and use a random number generator to select 30 numbers. 2. Systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is a type of random sampling in which the list of individuals is divided into discrete groups that are assigned a number. As opposed to simple random sampling, individuals from each group are gathered at regular intervals. For example, all employees of the company are listed in alphabetical order. From the first 10 numbers, you randomly select a starting point, number 5. From number 5 onwards, every 10th person on the list is selected 5, 15, 25, 35, and so on, and you end up with a sample of 30 people. 3. Stratified sampling. Stratified sampling.
So what happened in systematic sampling? You took a random start, and from random start, you had a fixed number that was selected at, a fixed interval was selected. That is, suppose you started at randomly, you chose number 5, and then after 5, you selected every 10th person. So that each person in the organization had an equal chance of being selected. And generally, it is covering all the departments of the organization. The purpose is this. But here you have not divided the people into any categories. You are just given a system that how would you select a random, any person. Of course, Palak, I do send them in the group. Don't worry. Okay. So simple random sample, anybody was selected in the group. There was not a sequence. When you gave sequence to simple random, it became systematic sampling. Now, when you divide the population into groups and you select people from every group, it is your stratified sampling. Okay. Multi-stage sampling is where it is not necessary that you will select people from every group. You've selected a group and then you will keep on selecting people from that group only. That's multi-stage. I hope you are able to identify the differences. Let's complete it.
Is a great way to make sure you have a representative sample of the population. This makes it possible to draw more solid conclusions by including everyone, no matter their background. For example, the company has 300 female employees and 200 male employees. You want to ensure that the sample reflects the gender balance of the company, so you sort the population into 2 strata based on gender. Then you use random sampling on each group, selecting 30 women and 20 men, which gives you a representative sample of 50 people. 4. Cluster sampling. Cluster sampling involves dividing a population into groups with similar characteristics. Instead of picking individuals from each group, you choose entire groups at random to get your sample. For example, the company has offices in 12 cities across the country, all with roughly the same number of employees in similar roles. You don't have the capacity to travel to every office to collect your data, so you use random sampling to select 4 offices. These are your clusters. Okay, let us move to the other method. Non-probability sampling methods. In a non-probability sample, individuals are selected based on non-random criteria, and not every individual has a chance of being included. Non-probability sampling techniques are often used in exploratory and qualitative research. In these types of research, the aim is not to test a hypothesis about a broad population, but to develop an initial understanding of a small or under-researched population. 1. Convenience sampling. A convenience sample simply includes the individuals who happen to be most accessible to the researcher. The sampling. Similar to a convenience sample, a voluntary response sample is mainly based on ease of access. Instead of the researcher choosing participants and directly contacting them, people volunteer themselves, for example by responding to a public online survey. Voluntary response samples are always at least somewhat biased, as some people will inherently be more likely to volunteer than others. You send out the survey to all students at your university, and a lot of students decide to complete it. This can certainly give you some insight into the topic, but the people who responded are more likely to be those who have strong opinions about the student support services, so you can't be sure that their opinions are representative of all students. 3.
Okay, so what we understood is non-probability samplings are the ones where we are not selecting the sample by any random selection. We've got a particular criteria based on which only we select people. Okay, for example, we have quotas made SC, ST, OBC, general. Okay, and there are people, there are government organizations that announce the recruitments that we are just going to recruit 2 people from OBC category, 2 people from SC category, 2 people from general category. Now, there is no random selection that they are doing. If you clear the exam, then based on your clearing the exam, you are going to give in marks, and the person who gets highest marks will be selected. They're not doing any random technique. There is a proper systematic technique that they're following. This is non-probability based technique. Okay, but they can have biasness in this approach. Since suppose if I know, you've seen olden movies, the old movies, and wherein a person knows somebody, so they are more biased towards it, and they help the person in clearing the exam and so on, so their person is selected. Since there is no computer involved, there's a human intervention here, so yes, there are chances of biasness more in non-probability based sampling. Let's quickly just have a look of what we have studied here. Okay, what we have seen here in our chapter. I won't be taking much of time, just 5 minutes. Okay, but I hope that now things look much clearer to you, because I've seen students who are very confused with the different sampling methods. So I don't want any confusions. I want you to be absolutely clear with what you are studying. First, random sample. I hope we are clear. Simple random sample means now you have the entire population, and there is just maybe with the help of random digits, random numbers. Okay, we are just selecting anyone in the group, and nobody knows who's going to be selected because there's a random number by which they are selected. Okay, for example, you have those lucky draws. So lucky draws are what? Random numbers only. Whoever's numbers come in is the winner, but we don't know who it can be. I mean, there is absolutely everybody's involved with equal chances of being selected. So what are the drawbacks? the selected items are subject to the full range of variations inherent in the population. No, it can happen. But suppose I have to select 10 people in the entire organization for maybe, having some interviews for about the organization. Now, randomly, I may just select 5 people from finance, 4 from marketing, and none, 1 from admin and none from production. It can happen because everybody's got equal chances of being selected. So we may have a sample which is not covering the entire population. So sample may be unrepresentative. Sample may be scattered over a large geographical area, right, across all the companies of the organization, the different branches. Any inadequate sampling frame may not exist, like I said, because it is incomplete. So we may require a bigger sample to justify it. And the numbering of the population may be laborious. It may be expensive to carry on the simple random sampling, because not every time sampling by just random numbers can be an easy task if it is not covering the entire population. Okay, then we have a system which is quasi-random sampling. Quasi-random means now here it is not completely random, where we have a way, like in systematic sampling, it is not completely random. We have made a base that once we select a random number, we are going to select every 10th person. So we have got a particular system in place, not just the entire random number, okay, random system. Then stratified sample, we discussed. Now we are not just taking any random person, we're dividing the population into groups, and then from each group, we are taking some random people. So we have got some criteria along with the random technique. Multi-stage sampling, okay, like suppose I have to select the sample of, like we have elections that goes on the different states, and I want to create samples, of people representative for the entire population. So how do we do that? We go to a particular state, we select the districts from where we are going to collect samples. Then from that district, we see the population, and we see from that district, which village we are going to go. Then from that village particular, we take out the people who are representative of the district. That's a multi-stage sample. Okay, we are going in different stages. So I'll just repeat them. Systematic sampling is a sampling method which works by selecting every nth number after a random start. Exactly what we discussed. The gap interval between every nth number is called a sampling interval. Very, very important MCQ question. What is sampling interval? It is a gap between two nth numbers in the systematic sample. Like suppose in our example, we had a gap of 10. So that is sampling interval. Okay, now advantages, disadvantages, you can just go through it. Stratified sample, we have discussed. It is a method of sampling which involves dividing the population into different stratas, or we call them categories. Random samples are then taken from each stratum or the category. Then we had multi-stage sampling. It is a probability sampling method which involves dividing the population into different numbers of subpopulations, then subpopulations. Okay, and then selecting a sample from each subpopulation at a random. Like I gave an example for election commission, and like we had an example given in the video as well. Okay, now you can go through in your ebook and your physical books also. You have essential reading where you will have some examples of these random sampling techniques. Some examples you've already seen in the videos. Some examples are there in that essential reading. Please go through that today. If you have any queries, you'll ask me in the next class, that is on Friday. Okay, now I'll just quickly take up quota sampling that also we have discussed, okay, and cluster. And balance any topic after it, we'll take it in the next class. So non-random sampling. Yeah, I'll explain. Stratified again, Kanak, like we discussed. Now suppose I want to take a sample out of you students in the group. So I will divide you people into 2 groups or 3 groups. One, the students who are in 11th and 12th. Second, students in BCom. Okay, those who are still under graduation. Third, who have done their graduation. So now out of these 3 categories, now I'm going to select samples. Suppose I want to select a sample of 6 people, 6 students. So I will take 2 samples from class 11, 12, 2 samples from BCom and 2 samples from your the working students. So likewise, each group will be having 2 people representative for their particular category. Okay. Now, where do you find your essential reading? You go to this tab and you go down, and you will have a column here, tab here, essential reading. For every chapter, we have more details. Okay, so you should go for chapter number 1 and chapter number 2 only till the portion that we have covered. Chitra, yes. Chitra is saying, ma'am, multi-stage and stratified, they look similar, but they're not similar, Chitra. Like I'm going to give you one more example for multi-stage now. Now, suppose again, I have 3 categories of the students in the class. One is 11, 12, one is BCom, and one is working student. Now, instead of taking sample for each category, now I have selected that I want to take a sample from only BCom students. So rest of the 2 groups I'm ignoring. Now in BCom students, there are again 3 categories in which I've divided. First year, second year, third year. Now out of these 3 years, I've selected that I want to take a sample from second year students only. Now in second year, I have again divided 2 categories, girls and boys. Now suppose I've decided that I will take 5 samples for girls and 5 for boys. So can you see the difference between now stratified and the multi-stage sample? In stratified, we never went into different stages. In multi-stage, you select different stages. Like in interviews, what has happened? Okay, we suppose I have a company which has 5 rounds of interview. In first round, out of 100 people, 50 get selected. And the second round, out of those 50, 25 get selected. Third round, out of 25, 15 get selected. And in the fourth round, out of 15, 7 get selected. And in the fifth round, out of 7, only 3 get selected. Are you clear? Just like you have all those IAS exams and all, where they have multiple rounds, GDs, interviews and all. Chitra, is this clear? Please tell me. Okay. So let's quickly, just 1 minute for quota sampling. I'll just take 1 minute. Please don't leave. Okay, now we discussed about the quota sampling. It's a non-probability based sample. Like I told you, suppose I have to take a sample of only the age group of 65 and above. I'm just taking the sample from senior citizens group only. Now here I'm not selecting any random number. Out of these senior citizens, I'm just selecting the persons whose name is starting with A letter. Okay, or the people who are engineers in the senior citizens. So I have clearly defined what kind of people are going to be a part of my sample. I'm not taking any random person. I've clarified that criteria. It is a quota sample. Okay, so quota sampling is a method in which randomness is forfeited. Forfeited means stopped. Okay, randomness is stopped in the interest of cheapness and administrative simplicity. Investigators are told to interview all the people they meet up to a certain criteria. Like for example, in IAS exams, only the students who are in the top 10% are interviewed. So there are people, investigators know, but not everybody who has cleared the exam will be interviewed. Only the top 10% or 15% would be interviewed. Okay, now out of those interviewed people, there are different categories. For example, IAS, IPS, IRS. Okay, now who will go to IPS, who will go to IAS, who will go to IRS? So the people, when they clear the interview, based on their preferences, they take them. It's not that they will say, okay, the second person who came for the interview will go to IPS. They are not doing this eeny, meeny, miny, mo kind of a thing. That's a random sample. Is this clear? So based on a particular criteria, people are going to a particular category. This is quota sampling. Fine. Suppose I want to go for an interview and I want to go to the finance department. I don't want to join marketing. Why? Because my qualification is of finance. So I'm going to be given the finance department. It's not randomly I've been chosen for finance. It's because my qualification meets the criteria. So I'm going for finance. That's quota sampling, where there is no randomness. There's a particular criteria and there's particular reason why you're going to a particular category. We're not doing any random sample here. So it's more cheap. You don't have to do any particular methodology. You don't have to adopt any computer software, nothing. So you are selecting on a particular criteria. So which is more true and fair also. But there is always a risk of biasness, like I said. Okay, old Hindi movies, please remember it. Okay, last sampling method, and then we will do questions in the next class. Okay, you will revise everything, we'll do questions in the next class. It is cluster sampling. Okay, I'll do one thing, I'll take cluster sampling in the next class. Fine, just you revise till this portion, and the next class will complete a chapter number 2. Fine, because cluster sampling, you're not studied as such. I mean, so first to revise everything, I'll take cluster sampling and the questions and the balance topics in the next class. It's only statistics, so it will be good time. Fine. Yeah, so that's all for today. I'll share the videos and the links. Okay, and I'll share the word file also that we just discussed in the class. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody. And please revise the concepts that you have done till now. And one more thing, you have homework. Okay. So please write down the questions for the homework and somebody please put it in the WhatsApp group. So your homework is chapter number 1, all questions. Okay. Chapter number 1, all questions. And chapter number 2, till 2.5. Chapter number 1, all questions, and chapter number 2 till 2.5, 2.1 to 2.5. Palak, just get the book and get in touch with VGLT, they will tell you. So you can get in touch with Sandeep sir or anybody in the VGLT team, they will guide you. Okay, guys. So chapter 1, all questions, and chapter 2, 2.1 to 2.5. Somebody please put this in the WhatsApp group as a homework. Thank you so much. Good night. And I hope that you've understood the class. See you all on Friday. Bye-bye. Bye.